Thanks very much. After Tracy and Dave, they say politicians can talk. I mean, good grief. I think it's one of those situations where I almost feel a bit of a fraud sort of being here. I wasn't here 4 years ago. 2 years ago or so, a bit longer actually, that I was given the role of being the Labour spokesperson on defamation amongst what feels like about 500 other things. As a person who did a chemistry degree, who worked for tax and finance companies, who has long had an interest in politics and wanted to be a politician and wanted to be a Labour Member of Parliament who came into it, and then you get asked by the leader of your party to be in the Shadow Justice team, and you kind of take a deep breath and say, you know, thank you, Ed, that's really kind of you, and I'll draw on all my vast experience, help. And you then turn to organisations that have been a fantastic help, providing the support. You know, there are people, I see faces around the room who came to me thinking that I was, you know, the guy who perhaps know all this, and they were going to try and persuade me and really get me on board, and I was actually sitting there going, please, can you tell me what it is that I need to understand and do? And they were a fantastic support. Without the help of, and I'm not going to start naming organisations because I'll miss one, but without the help of all the organisations that came along and supported me, when I'm sitting in committee with the government minister opposite me, flatly refusing to take any of the interventions, any of the amendments, any of the changes we're proposing, but nevertheless I'm sitting there making arguments about things, you know, like Reynolds and Flood and things that I thought were people who I'd never met and didn't really mean anything 2 or 3 years earlier, and then you start to realise actually there is a massive issue here, and you start to read all the stuff, and you start to meet people like Simon and Peter and various others, and you sort of hear their stories, and you think, actually, yes, that's what I got into politics for. That's why I'm a Member of Parliament, because I want to stand on the side of the people who are being bullied, and I want to make sure, as sadly I think we're going to see over the coming weeks and months, indeed it's already happening, certain big organisations that take government shillings and then some to provide contracts, who then say, well, we're going to do all this work that government have given us, that perhaps government used to do and government couldn't sue, and now we're going to do all this work, and if you criticise us, we'll get you to take down your blog site, we'll get you to shut up, and we'll use all the bullying that organisations, which I'm so tempted to name, are doing, and anyway, so you know, I mean, some of these people don't give a toss about anything, do they? That was a code in there. There was a little clip for those who are wondering why I perhaps seem to swear, so I think that. You know, this law needs to be built on. I told you politicians could talk a lot. I think the situation for me is this is a brilliant leap forward and fantastic work. But for me, it's a mark along the road. For me, it's a journey still to be completed. Derbyshire Plus needs to be there. We still need to really get to the bottom of what the regulations on internet providers are going to be, what they're going to look like, whether they're going to work. We need to see where the civil procedures come out. There's so much more that still needs to be done, even with the bill in its current form. And I know tonight's a celebration, and I'm kind of putting a little bit of a down on it, but for me, this is work in progress. This is so much more still to be achieved. But, you know, hats off to you guys for where we've got to, because if it wasn't for the people in this room, we would not be in this position. I would not have spent what seems to be like hours of my life, months of my life, years of my life sitting in committees and on bill committee and on the floor of the House, discussing, debating, trying to get these changes through. And more importantly, some of the people who now will not be bullied would still be being bullied.